Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet. I hope everybody is having a fantastic little day and a fantastic big day. David, what's up? How you doing, man?
What's up? What's up? Just sending out the link. We're live discussing last night's murders.
We're live disgusting. Yes, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the murder and everything around it and surrounding it. Hello, everybody. What's up? What's up? What's up? I'm just trying this new feature right now. I don't know how it looks on screen, but I wonder how it does look on screen, where I can put all the chat on the screen. I think I might regret this very, very quickly. So I don't know. I'll just try it here for a second so that everyone can see what they write. Now you can write like complete nonsense on there and it will be on the screen. Anyway, today we are gathered here to talk about what happened yesterday. So, last night in Washington, D.C., two people who work at the embassy were brutally shot and killed. And I'm sorry, but do you hear the noise here? Is there like lots of noise coming through? No? Okay, good. There's like, for some reason, at this time, somebody decided to mow the lawn, so it's like extremely loud here.
I don't hear it at all, and I'm wearing pretty high-powered headphones, so.
Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So, two people were murdered, and they were murdered in the name of Palestine with a chant that sounds very, very familiar to all those people who have seen the stuff that people have shouted on college campuses for 2 years now. He literally went there, he shot these two people, and then he shouted, "Free, free, free Palestine," in the very campus format of shouting that stupid slogan. Did you see those videos at all, David? Do you have any idea?
The only thing I saw was the video of, it was from Twitter, but I saw the video of the guy yelling the Palestine slogan when he was being arrested or something like that. It's the only clip I saw.
Exactly, that's what I'm talking about. So, here, this went around. So as soon as this happened, this was actually published right after it happened, as the arrest was ongoing. You can see this guy here after shooting them. He's being arrested, and he said,
"Outside!"
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
So here's a very, very significant thing about this. He isn't just shouting "Free Palestine," right? What he's doing here is he's shouting "Free Palestine" in the way that we have seen it on college campuses and on the whole pro-Palestine, free Palestine protests for quite a while now. It is that very same thing. It is
it's one of their main chants. It's one of their main chants. They got from the river to the sea, then they got the free, free Palestine.
Yeah, it sounds very dumb. I don't know why they're doing that. It sounds very, very stupid. But that's literally what he's doing. So he went there directly in line with the pro-Palestine, free Palestine chants and protests that we have heard for the longest time now. It wasn't just some random fringe free Palestine action. We have also seen, of course, people everywhere on social media praising this or mocking the dead and things like that. So the facts here are this guy, the guy's name is Elias Rodriguez. He is from Chicago, and he went to the event that was organized where Jewish people and others meet to specifically go and target Israelis, Jews, and to kill them right there for Palestine. Apparently, that was going to be a very, very fantastic action, which would eventually, of course, free Palestine from whatever it is oppressed by. Some very, very big geniuses, independent journalists like Adam Media here, have said Elias, Jewish name, was a member of the Party of Socialism and Liberation. It is common knowledge that PSL is filled with Feds, false flag. As soon as the thing happened, as soon as the attack happened, people started spreading this idiotic idea that it's a false flag attack. Of course, the reasoning here also doesn't get much smarter than this, which is his name is Elias, which is a Jewish name. Therefore, he's probably a Jew, and this is probably a false flag attack. David,
Good point.
David,
Mhm. Yes, I'm Jewish because my name's David. What's your point?
it's, I really don't know what to say sometimes. Like, this is the reasoning. Elias, Jewish name, therefore Jew, therefore
Hey, you know what else is a Jewish name? Adam.
yeah. Every biblical name, like every name that comes from the Bible, every name that has something that is from the Bible is Jewish. And by the way, you know what else is Jewish then? Jesus. And I'm pretty sure this guy is going around saying Jesus was a Palestinian. So it's so stupid, man. But anyway, so the guy went there for terrorism, went and killed 2 people deliberately in a horrible, horrible act, a crime against humanity. And the thing is that the 2 people murdered were completely randomly targeted and were very, very peaceful people who were all about dialogue and all about peace. So we have here gunned down Israeli embassy staffer Sarah Milgram worked on peace building between Palestinians and Israelis. Her grieving father says that's the irony. So
Hang on. So you're saying it's the exact same irony of Hamas massacring Jews in those kibbutzes.
Precisely.
It's the same irony. They're not going out and killing people who are longing for the annihilation of Palestinians or something like that, or people who want war or something like that. They're killing people who are peaceful and want to get along.
That's true. It is directly no, I don't know what the chat is discussing, but Elias is from Elijah, not from Elisha. It's from Elijah. It's the Greek version of the biblical Hebrew name Elijah, which literally means "my God is Yahweh." So that's what it is.
Outside. No. Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Yeah, absolutely. We just got to move on. Go. Numbers.
So let's look a little bit into this story. Sarah Milgram worked on peace building between Palestinians and Israelis. Her grieving father says that's the irony. The father of the bride-to-be, who was killed along with her boyfriend near the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C., said his daughter was working to bring Israeli-Palestinian peace and more aid to Gaza before being gunned down by a suspect who later yelled, "Free, free Palestine." This is her. Robert Milgram, 73, slammed suspect Elias Rodriguez's alleged motives as blatantly anti-Semitic and of no help to Gaza, given that his daughter, Sarah Milgram, 26, was dedicated to helping Palestinians.
Got a point. This is not helping anyone in Palestine. The only people this is helping are the people who just want people dead at all costs, like death cult people. So Hamas would be a fan of this, but
There is allegedly a manifesto online that is going around, but so they were attending an event in which she also was there specifically to talk about the aid in Gaza and all that. So it's very, very ironic that some terrorist would go to a peace activist, somebody who is actually in an important political position, right, and who works for peace, and for rights for everyone. She is being targeted and she is being killed as a result of this pro-Palestine terrorism. Prior to her start at the embassy, Sarah worked for Tech to Peace in Tel Aviv, conducting research on peace-building initiatives between Israelis and Palestinians. My passion lies at the intersection of peace-building, religious engagement, and environmental work, Milgram wrote on LinkedIn. Milgram said the killings have left his family completely wrecked, especially after learning that Lishinsky was planning to propose to Sarah next week. So this is also the part of the story. The two were a couple. They were a couple. They were supposed to they were together for a while. He was planning on proposing to her, and they were getting ready to get married. So his name is Yaron Lishinsky, and her name was Sarah Milgram, and he was preparing on proposing to her, and they were supposed to go together on a trip to Israel, where they would then announce this to their families and plan on getting married. So this is what they were doing. The thing also about this issue is that it got really, really interesting very quickly. Of course, the guy goes there and specifically seeks out and targets and shoots and kills 2 Jewish Israelis. And then, however, after a little bit of development, it turns out that these 2 are not just Jewish Israelis. The guy, Yaron Lishinsky, he was actually born in Germany into a Jewish and Christian family. His father was, I think, his father is Jewish and his mother is Christian, and he is actually a devout Christian. It's kind of unclear whether he's identified as Messianic Jewish. The Messianic Jewish community has kind of claimed him and said that he was very well known and was a very devout guy. So he was Messianic Jewish or in some way Protestant evangelical Christian, and was a very firm believer in the state of Israel, believed it is his duty to go and help them, went to Israel to serve in the IDF just because he wanted to. And she, as far as the information is out there, was simply regular American Jewish, possibly Reformed Jewish, but the Messianic Jewish groups said that they were both known to be Messianic. It might be that she adopted Christian beliefs before or after they met. So they are both claimed by the Messianic Jewish group as Messianic Jewish believers in Christ. So as this terrorist, this anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, anti-America terrorist went down there and targeted and shot and killed these 2 Jewish Israelis, that was his whole purpose, right? That's who he was going for. He actually killed 2 Christian Jews, and there are some sick, messed up people online who kind of celebrated and said, "Oh, I don't care about dead Jews." No, it's not just dead Jews. It's actually dead Christians and dead Jews and dead Israelis and dead Americans. When is it enough with this terrorism? I don't know. Maybe the aspect of them being Christian will at least make some people care about this a little bit more, because people seem to have stopped caring about Jews these last few years. I don't know.
No, that won't happen. That won't happen either, AP, because the people who would want Jews dead would also want anyone who supports them in any way dead.
I know. That's true. So there's not much hope, but That's just what we try to do. We I have gone through some social media posts,
and open
but social media is always the worst part of it. But you can see here, for example, reactions to the murder from social media.
and opened fire, striking both of our decedents. After the
Free Palestine.
shooting, the suspect
Israel is the enemy.
then entered the museum
Hero.
and was detained by event security. Once in handcuffs, the suspect identified
Free Palestine.
where he discarded the weapon, and that weapon has been recovered, and
Is the suspect okay?
he implied that he committed the offense. The suspect chanted, "Free
Free Palestine. Sorry for the law. Like, what an idiot. Posts free Palestine and then posts the wrong flag. That's not the Palestine flag. That's the Jordan flag, you idiot.
I mean, we never accused them of being smart, AP. What?
free Palestine while in custody."
What a brave man. Well done. May God give him high grade in heaven. Free Palestina.
The suspect has been tentatively identified as 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez of Chicago, Illinois. We believe the shooting was
isn't that a
committed by
Jewish
female
name?
suspect who is now in custody. Prior to the shooting, the suspect was observed pacing back and forth outside of the museum. He approached a group of 4 people, produced a handgun, and opened fire, striking both of our decedents.
Now, here is the thing. Going back to this idiotic post, which says free Palestine. Sorry for the lost, but it's happening every day in Palestine. So there are two. There is something very important here to talk about, which is, first off, this post. It is happening every day in Palestine, right? Secondly, the idea that there is some injustice happening in Palestine, which this guy jumps in and kills Israelis to kind of to try and stop the injustices going on. I'm sorry, but this is all the result of disgusting and filthy propaganda that we have seen over the last 2 years. Nothing is going to happen if you go and kill Israelis. Nothing is going to happen if you blow up an embassy. Nothing is going to change. Nothing is going to happen if you kill somebody in the name of Palestine. Nothing at all in Gaza or in Palestine is going to change as a result of your terrorism, because these people have swallowed and deeply chewed up and digested the ridiculous propaganda that Israel is somehow oppressing these Palestinian people, and that the Palestinian people are being senselessly oppressed, and somebody just has to stop Israel. Israel is not doing something that for no reason. What's happening over there is a result of the Hamas terrorist attack and their extended groups and allies fighting and insisting on fighting against Israel every single day. You could stop the suffering and the bloodshed and the violence and the death and the destruction not by attacking Israel, not by attacking Israelis or Jews. If you want to stop it through violence, if you want to attack someone, you should probably not attack the Israelis. You should go and attack the Hamas or their allies and force them to stop, because they are the ones who extend the suffering, who make it go on forever. They are the ones who keep the war that is currently happening going. They are the ones who keep it happening this entire time. They are the ones who started the war that we are in right now. They are the ones who took the hostages. They are the ones who refused to let the hostages go. If they let the hostages go, and if they surrender, if they lay down their weapons, Israel will stop fighting immediately. We have had the assurance from the very beginning. The fighting currently is only going on because the so-called Palestinian side started a brutal war on October 7 when they went out and committed terrorist attacks and raped and massacred innocent civilians and said, we will do this until the Israeli state, until the Israeli country, until the Israelis are completely destroyed. This is why all of this is going on. This is why there is a war. You will not stop this by attacking Israel. You will not stop this by attacking Jews. You will not stop this by any of these stupid, ridiculous, barbaric actions. And if you think that this is wrong, if you think Israel can actually stop any time now and everything will be totally cool, then you are simply mistaken. And nobody should listen to you. And you should probably shut down and read something. Read a few books. Listen to debates about this. There is a good reason why nobody is having a debate about these things. There's a reason why all the anti-Israeli people don't have any debates about these things, because the anti-Israeli people are following a false narrative that is being funded and blown up by certain interests, by certain Middle Eastern Arab nations that want the narrative that Israel is at fault going. That's not what's happening, however. That is simply not what is happening. Those who started the conflict that we are in were the so-called Palestinians. Those who started the war that we are in were also them. Those who can end this are also them, not the Israelis. Here's one saying, rise up for Palestine. The whole world hates the fake Jews. Here, I have something to tell you, rise up for Palestine. You know who... You're using the name Palestine here. Before 1948, Palestine was the name that was used for the Jews in the land of Israel.
Wait, so this guy's saying rise up for the Jews?
Yes. Palestinian in Europe and around the world was a term that was used for the Jews, for the Zionists in the land of Israel. The Palestinian football team, until 1948, was made up of Jews, Zionists, Israel. The time that Palestine turned into the name for the Arabs came much later, decades later. And the first time that a state named Palestine was ever announced by the Arab side was in the 80s, in 1988. So if there's anyone who is fake here, it's you and the people that you stand up for. You absolute imbecile. And with that, you will get blocked. Now read on that a little bit and learn something.
What? I can't read.
Freaking idiot.
I can't read.
Free Palestine while in custody.
So that's what's happening here. That's what's happening here. We didn't even know about it. She was leaving on Sunday to Israel to meet his family. They were going together, Milgram said. She was happier now than she was ever in her life. She was truly in love with Yaron and vice versa, he added. Now here is the terrorist. Elias Rodriguez, a leftist activist, was detained at the scene. Rodriguez, a Chicago native, is accused of gunning down the couple as they were leaving an event at the Capital Jewish Museum. When I first heard that it was a Hispanic guy from Chicago who was also possibly gay, I thought it was Nick Fuentes, but it turned out it had nothing to do with him. So I'm kind of surprised, actually.
Although it might be Nick Fuentes' boyfriend, for all we know.
It could be. It could be. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. Let's go and read some further reports on this. I actually want to watch something here. So here is CBN News that also jumped on this and interviewed few people that actually knew the two, Sarah and Yaron, and they talked to some people who were familiar with these two people. Let's have them.
As the Messianic body, we just feel like, I mean, it's one of us. It's one of our own. I mean, I was putting my babies down to bed tonight, and you just think about it. You think, like, my boys are in the Lord's hands, and I who knows what's going to happen with any of our lives and we're here in a war zone right now. So I was in my bomb shelter today, as many people around the area were. We've been multiple times recently, and you just know and trust the Lord. We trust God, that God has a plan and a purpose, and our days are numbered. But that every day that we live, we want to glorify God and share of his love and help people to know that we, as hard as it is, we can have hope in him.
The two Israeli diplomats who were murdered last night in Washington, D.C., were Jesus followers. Vanessa Mistretta, who was part of Yaron Lachinsky's congregation, joins us now from Jerusalem. First off, I'm just so incredibly sorry, sis. How are you processing this horrific news?
Yeah, it was devastating to wake up to. We all woke up to the reality of knowing that.
So very evidently, very evidently, two people who were who. It's kind of interesting. When I first posted about this morning that they were seemingly Messianic Jewish or Christian, lots of people were like, "What is that?" So today, interestingly, lots of people are learning about what Messianic Jews are. But just to give a little background on that, it would be probably interesting to have somebody on to talk about this. A Messianic Jew. Didn't you have an interview with somebody? Who was that? What was his name? Was it Cantor something? You're muted. Yeah. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Am I?
Yeah. What was his name?
I've spoken to multiple Messianic Jews. Yeah, you're thinking of Ron Cantor. There's also, there's also these guys, two Messianic Jews. I'm supposed to be on with them in a couple weeks.
Oh, yeah. So, for those who don't know, I'm not terribly informed about Messianic Jews. I just know the basics on them. But basically, people of Jewish background and Jewish heritage who become Christian or believe in Jesus as the Messiah, but then keep much of their Jewish tradition and Jewish practices while also being Christians. David, is that about right? You're probably the expert on Messianic Jews.
Yeah, go with that.
Okay, good. So that seems about right. Yeah.
Two people were murdered last night in Washington, D.C., and then you wake up to finding out that you know them and know their family. And it was really difficult. I have a WhatsApp group with our staff with Firm, and you had so many people telling stories about how they grew up with him and know him. And it's heartbreaking, to recognize you have this young guy who was super passionate about being an advocate for Israel and was in D.C. really to be able to just share about his love for Israel and who he is as an Israeli, and then just out of nowhere gets murdered for being at an event. It's been an extremely heavy day and extremely heartbreaking to think about the grief that his parents and his siblings must be experiencing and all of his friends, and it's just it's really, really overwhelming.
So the reports are that they were weeks away from getting engaged in Jerusalem. I know I cover a lot of heavy stories, but this one is anyway, I'm not gonna let myself go there right now. But as a Messianic believer, it's a small community, and you lead an organization that's really active. It's called Firm, the Fellowship of Israel-Related Ministries. Correct me if I'm wrong. How has you kind of already answered this, but how has the Messianic community in Israel, I guess the word, been handling this just horrific news?
Yeah, well, first of all, communication is everything. So we've got, our phones are blowing up with all the different groups that we're on. My congregation also is spreading the news and talking about how we can support his family and to, come over to his parents' house and to make them meals and all of that. And so there's the support. But I think just as a Messianic community, it brings us together because it's one of our own. This is a guy who made Aliyah when he was 16 from Germany. And so then he just automatically got in with a friend group. And I've been here for many years. I'm an immigrant from America. And I remember he has a strong friend group. They were all just super close and loved God and loved Yeshua and just were passionate about really making an impact. And I remember actually he went out to lunch with my husband multiple times. I think for a little bit we were trying to recruit him to figure out, what are you wanting to do with your life? And Michael would always come home and he's really passionate about politics. He's really passionate about advocacy. So however we can help him, to really fulfill.
So yeah, that's the background of it. So they were both
what God had
They
said.
were very, very passionate and very active, very happy couple. They were preparing to actually get married. They were preparing to get engaged, at least. They were both very, very good advocates of Israel, but also of peace with the other side. And this is the regular pattern that we have seen again and again. Even David and I, when we went to Israel, we regularly see how on the Israeli side you have lots of people who. So on the Israeli side, you see that the people are very, very firmly advocates for Israel, but at the same time, they want to stand up for peace with the Palestinians and still want to be charitable and give them the benefit of the doubt and find a way to make peace with the so-called Palestinian people. You barely get that same reaction from the other side. You see so many Israelis being so devout to Israel, but also trying to make peace and trying to find a good solution, a good way to protect the rights of the Palestinians and to understand each other and to find peace together. But the other side then, as soon as they get the chance, kills the peace activists. This is how it goes. And then from the rest of the world, we hear about how those Israelis who are peace advocates were actually these very, very evil guys. They are then depicted as the evil ones. This is also one of the great shocking things that I guess kind of moved me and kind of confused me really badly when we went to Israel, because I always did have very good opinions of Israel and of Jews, but then we went there and I am overwhelmed with how good these people actually are compared to what people say about them all the time. And it doesn't really make sense. When I think about it, I still think it's very strange that there is a trend in the world that these Jewish people seem to be so good and charitable, but then the response to them is from the rest of the world is basically that they are these evil people, evil bunch who deserve to be killed, and they are behind all the evil stuff in the world. I don't want to sound like it or say it, but I feel like it's almost too strange, and there's almost something bigger and weirder out there, something spiritual. I don't know what exactly it is, but some completely irrational and unnatural hate toward Jews, despite them doing whatever they can to be as good as possible. And it's incredible, absolutely incredible. I know David agrees with all of what I just said. So
Actually, I was looking up the guy from that CBN clip who's doing the interview. I was like, that dude looks really familiar. So I was looking up who that was. But yeah, I did a show with him. But it was on TBN, not CBN. So anyway.
what is TBN?
It's another Christian network. What's the T stand for? Trinity? Trinity Broadcasting Network?
I don't know. Probably Talmudic.
Yeah, Trinity Broadcasting Network. Yeah, we did a show. Did a show with him. That's why he looked familiar. But anyway, I had to find him because that's a different network.
So here we have more information on who the two victims were. Leszczynski and Milgram often attended Jewish events in Washington and had planned to move in together in July, according to friends and others who knew them. They were scheduled to fly to Israel to meet his parents in the coming days, so we assumed it was very serious, Robert Pilgrim, Sarah's father, said in an interview. But there was more. Yechiel Leiter, Israel's ambassador to the United States, later told Sarah's parents that Leszczynski had bought an engagement ring last week. He hoped to propose in Israel. On Wednesday, as they often did, the couple went to a diplomatic reception at the Capitol Jewish Museum in D.C. As they stepped out onto a quiet street, a gunman opened fire and killed the couple, according to the police. Instead of walking you down the aisle, we are walking with you to your graves, Israeli embassy spokesperson Tal Naim wrote Thursday on X. Lyshinsky's friends, professor, and family described him as a quiet intellectual who cared deeply about his religion, Israel, and building bridges among communities. Lyshinsky, the son of a Jewish father from Argentina, who later moved to Israel, and a Christian mother from Germany, who was born in Israel but moved to Nuremberg, Germany, at a very young age. His older brother Hanan Lyshinsky said in a brief interview, Yaron, who also had a German passport, was the second oldest of 5 siblings. Growing up in a dual faith, home influenced Lyshinsky's desire to go into diplomacy, his friends and professors said. He identified as Christian, but periodically attended Sabbath services with his girlfriend. Oh, okay. So he identified as Christian, but periodically attended Shabbat services with his girlfriend. So his girlfriend then probably still attended Sabbath services and probably was still, I don't know. Nissim at Magazine Dean.
No, that could mean Jewish or Messianic Jewish.
Yeah, could be too. I don't know. Nissim at Magazine of Humanities at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem said Lyshinsky spoke 4 languages and saw his diverse cultural background as an advantage, especially in diplomacy. Soccer together, Japanese for years. He was what we call a mensch, said Ronan Cheval, Dean, and so on. His friends in DC, including fellow embassy workers and young people he met in the Jewish community, said Lyshinsky loved taking photos of the small things other people missed and having deep conversations about religion and philosophy. Sounds like you, David. He had a clever sense of humor, said Joseph Milstein, who met Lyshinsky through a conference about the Iranian diaspora. He had this intellectual curiosity of people from different cultures and backgrounds that was so special. And she was a perfect daughter. Children's chorus for lyric opera in Kansas City, playing the violin. She graduated from Shawnee Mission East High School in 2017 before enrolling in the University of Kansas.
Gosh, she just graduated in 2017.
Yeah. Kennard said her best memories with Milgram are of days spent dog sitting Kennard's dogs. As soon as you met Sarah, she just had a way of putting you at ease, like there was such a light about her. She also spent time in Tel Aviv working for Tech to Peace, which is the peace organization, bringing Israelis and Palestinians together in peace-building initiatives. She was a Zionist, loved Israel, and loved Palestinians. She was a peacemaker, her father said. She had a good heart, and she showed it. This is I purposely put Zionist in my bio back a few weeks ago because I felt like I want to continue using that because especially over the last few years, it has become kind of like an insult because of all the propaganda, the word Zionist. But this is literally what it is. You are a Zionist if you simply stand for Israel and Israel's right to exist. And if you are like her, you are simply a Zionist. You can be a Zionist who stands for Israel and who loves the Palestinians and who works toward peacemaking with them and finding solutions together. But the Islamic terrorists have turned the word Zionism into a very, very bad thing, with the support of the far left and the Nazi propagandists. Anyway, friends say Milgram and Lyshinsky brought out the best in each other. Milgram, an outgoing planner, might initiate a conversation, they said. Lyshinsky was more reserved and would add an inquisitive thought to deepen it. So very, very nice people, very sweet people. May their memory be eternal and a blessing. And the terrorist may get what he deserves. There are some very, very sick details about the killing. So he has been charged now with the murder of two people, planned and carried out. But there is something described here in the files, which I briefly just want to have a look at. So here is her once again, and here's what it says. On scene, MPD officers were able to review surveillance video from immediately before and during the shooting that captured the exterior of the museum. In summary, the video shows a slim-built person wearing a blue jacket with a hood and large dark-colored backpack, blue pants, and light-colored shoes, consistent with the clothing worn by Rodriguez, walking across F Street Northwest in the direction of the museum, and where the descendants were standing, preparing to enter the crosswalk. Once Rodriguez walked past the dissidents, and dissident. How do you say that? Do you say dissidents?
I've never actually heard that word pronounced in my life, so
Yeah, so I'll just read it as dissidents. And the two witnesses, he turned to face their backs and brandished a firearm from the area of his waistband. Rodriguez is captured on the video extending both his arms in the direction of the dissidents and firing several times. Now I'm going to look up how to pronounce that word.
I'll look it up for you.
It bothers me. I'm looking at it right now.
You keep reading.
Dissident.
I'm looking it up.
Dissident. It's really dissident. I already looked it up. Okay. Never seen that word before. Once the dissidents fired several times as indicated by the muzzle flashes. Once the dissidents fell to the ground, Rodriguez is captured on the video, advancing closer to the dissidents, leaning over with them.
It's decedents.
With his arm extended. Oh yeah, actually it is. That's true.
I know. Decedents.
Once the decedents fell to the ground, Rodriguez is captured on the video, advancing closer to the decedents, leaning over with them with his arm extended and firing several more times. As decedent one attempted to crawl away from Rodriguez, he followed behind her and fired again. After a brief moment, Rodriguez appeared to reload his firearm. At the same time, decedent one sat up. Once he reloaded, Rodriguez fired several times at decedent one. Rodriguez is then captured jogging back. So the detail that we have just read here. So this is describing her. He shoots them first. He shoots her and her boyfriend, Yaron. First, he doesn't manage to kill her. She tries to crawl away, as it says. Then he follows behind her and shoots again. She's still alive. She crawls. She sits up. He reloads his gun and then finally fires several more times to then eventually kill her. This is the Free Palestine action in action right here. The Free Palestine protest in action right here. The sickness, the absolute monstrosity in action right here. It's not just about sending a message. It's not just about, being violent and loud to draw attention. He fires at her. She's alive, crawling away. It's not enough for him to fire and to kill one person already. She crawls and he fires at her again after following her. She sits up and then he reloads his gun on purpose and fires at her several more times until she's dead. This is the brutality and the sickness in question. Is this about freeing Palestine? Is this about seeking justice? What the hell did she do to anybody? This guy is looking for an excuse, just using the Palestinians as an excuse to let out the most evil, the most vile, the most sick in him, to brutally kill two innocent people, to fire at them over and over again, to brutally kill them. What the hell did she do to this guy or to anybody?
Yo, you gonna play Netanyahu's video?
Maybe. I didn't see it yet.
I haven't watched it. I see it posted here.
Is it on his own thing?
I see it on someone else's channel, but it's got to be probably on his. I'll check.
I see it on Awesome Jew. Okay, I see it on everybody posted here. Okay, I see it on his now. Let's see. I guess you're talking. What the heck?
What?
Okay, let's see.
Last night in Washington, something horrific happened. A brutal terrorist shot in cold blood a young, beautiful couple, Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Milgram. Yaron had just bought an engagement ring for Sarah. He was planning to give it to her in Jerusalem next week. They were planning to start a new and happy life together. Well, that tragically did not happen. Yaron and Sarah weren't the victims of a random crime. The terrorist who cruelly gunned them down did so for one reason and one reason alone. He wanted to kill Jews. And as he was taken away, he chanted, "Free Palestine." This is exactly the same chant we heard on October 7th. On that day, thousands of terrorists stormed into Israel from Gaza. They beheaded men, they raped women, they burned babies alive. They butchered 1,200 innocent people and took 251 innocent people hostage to the dungeons of Gaza. A short time afterwards,
Hold up, let me fix the thing here.
Fix what?
If I may, kind of quiet.
last night in Washington,
Okay, where was this? 110. All right. Here.
he visited Israel. And after he saw the horrors, he said to me, "These Hamas babies alive, they butchered 1,200 innocent people and took 251 innocent people hostage to the dungeons of Gaza." A short time afterwards, Chancellor Scholz of Germany visited Israel. And after he saw the horrors, he said to me, "These Hamas terrorists are exactly like the Nazis." He was right. And if they could get away with it, these Hamas terrorists would have slaughtered every last Jew on earth. For these neo-Nazis, Free Palestine is just today's version of Heil Hitler. They don't want a Palestinian state.
This is not a lie. This is not some propaganda. This is pure fact.
Mm-hmm.
And I made that very same point during the debate that I had with Andrew Wilson recently. When he's saying that if Hamas had the opportunity and the chance, they would kill every single Jew on the face of the earth, he's completely correct. This is what we heard directly from Hamas over and over again. That was precisely their goal. I played the videos here 1,000,000 times by now. We looked at the sources 1,000,000 times by now. Hamas has had it in their charter and on their stages, in their declarations forever, that their aim was to eradicate the Jews, and it was to eradicate, to word for word, cleanse Palestine of the filth of the Jews, and then to establish the caliphate. That's literally their entire goal. Those were their words. So those who, in solidarity with Hamas, go out and do vile crimes, like the bastard did last night, are part of that same movement. They're basically Nazis. Should be treated as such as well.
Of Heil Hitler. They don't want a Palestinian state. They want to destroy the Jewish state. They want to annihilate the Jewish people who've been in the land of Israel for 3,500 years. I could never understand how this simple truth evades the leaders of France, Britain, Canada, and others. They're now proposing to establish a Palestinian state and reward these murderers with the ultimate prize. Well, for 18 years, we had a de facto Palestinian state. It's called Gaza. And what did we get? Peace? No. We got the most savage slaughter of Jews since the Holocaust. You won't be surprised to learn that Hamas thanked President Macron and Prime Ministers Starmer and Carney for demanding that Israel end its war in Gaza immediately. Hamas was right to thank them, because by issuing their demand, replete with a threat of sanctions against Israel, not Hamas. These three leaders effectively said they want Hamas to remain in power. They want Israel to stand down and accept that Hamas's army of mass murderers will survive.
Hamas
rebuild.
welcomes concrete actions against Israel.
Here's the thing. Hamas welcomes concrete actions against Israel. Hamas lauded the United Kingdom, France, and Canada for threatening concrete actions against Israel if the IDF's military escalation in Gaza continues. The Iran-backed terrorist group said that it welcomed the trio's joint statement, which it described as an important step towards restoring respect for the principles of international law. The terrorist group that is currently holding civilians as hostages is talking about international law here and thanking these Western nations, while simultaneously denouncing Israel as a rogue entity. So, the British, French, and Canadian governments condemned Israel's renewed offensive in the Gaza Strip, calling on the Jewish state to lift restrictions on humanitarian aid into Gaza. Israel introduced these restrictions in March after Hamas again refused to release the hostages it still holds captive. The May 19 statement also demanded an end to settlement constructions in the West Bank, emphasizing that the three states would not hesitate to take further action, including targeted sanctions. So here is what he's just saying. He's not making this up. The UK, France, and Canada made joint statements, and you can actually find the joint statement very simply by Googling it, right here on the government website of the UK. Hamas actually came out thanking the UK, France, and Canada for this joint statement that they made. Imagine an actual terrorist organization that for 30 years preached that their aim is to eradicate the Jews and to establish a caliphate. You could say in a way they are, at least in words, worse than ISIS. This terrorist organization actually thanks France and the UK and Canada. That speaks volumes. It says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of a general rule. If a terrorist organization is posting its groveling thanks to you, it's not time to rejoice. Time to be figuring out what you did wrong.
It's kind of funny because we kind of we are at a time right now where being against Israel is the very, very popular thing to do. And it's not a very popular thing to support Israel in their current struggle. But then you look at who your opponents are and who is actually against Israel. And you see Iran, you see the terrorist organizations, you see Hamas, you see the worst states out there. And then you see these idiotic Western nations that can't take care of their own people bending over and joining in on that trend.
And repeat the October 7th massacre again and again and again, because that's what Hamas is vowed to do. I say to President Macron, Prime Minister Carney, and Prime Minister Starmer, when mass murderers, rapists, baby killers, and kidnappers thank you, you're on the wrong side of justice. You're on the wrong side of humanity. And you're on the wrong side of history. Now, these leaders may think that they're advancing peace. They're not. They're emboldening Hamas to continue fighting forever. And they give them hope to establish a second Palestinian state from which Hamas will again seek to destroy the Jewish state. And mind you, it's not going to be a state free of Hamas. When you establish a Palestinian state, we've seen it. The radicals take over. Iran sends them in and they take over. So don't give us this talk. It'll be a peaceful Palestinian state. It won't be. But the hypocrisy doesn't stop there. These and other leaders have bought into Hamas's propaganda that says Israel is starving Palestinian children. And not only is Hamas putting out this lie, a few days ago, a top UN official said that 14,000 Palestinian babies would die in 48 hours. You see, many international institutions are complicit in spreading this lie. The press repeats it, the mob believed it, and a young couple is then brutally gunned down in Washington. So here are the facts. Since
I wanted to jump in on this, but I didn't. I just watched it happening. But this actually went around. Imagine making such a ridiculous, such an absolutely ridiculous statement, and then just quietly taking it back without even saying anything about it. What kind of a clown world? What kind of a clown show is this? The United Nations guy comes out and says, under the current circumstances, if Israel is not stopped, about 14,000 babies will die in Gaza in the next 48 hours because they don't have any food left.
Isn't that like beyond stupid? Like, I mean, like insanely idiotic when you say 48 hours. If he'd said 14,000 will be dead in 8 months or something like that, you got some time for your theory to spread around, for your claim to spread around and do whatever you want. When you say 48 hours, it's just, really? We're going to see 14,000 bodies, baby bodies, within 48 hours. It's like, it reminds me of like, who was it? Was it AOC who was saying that humanity would be destroyed within 5 years if they don't do the Green New Deal or something? She said it was something like that, where it was just a few years away, and it it was completely idiotic. But anyway, this sort of thing. Yeah, guys, if you want to make something up, at least give yourself a little bit more time than 48 hours.
I don't even understand how. I mean, I don't even understand the education level or the logic that the person who makes this statement, who is in charge of humanitarian affairs in the United Nations. I don't understand how dumb you have to be to actually make such a statement in a serious fashion, right? Oh, if the humanitarian situation is not fixed, within the next 48 hours, 14,000 Gazan babies will. Are you freaking serious, man? That doesn't make any sense. That really doesn't make any sense. How do you even get to this conclusion? So this statement was put out, and then it was quietly retracted by the United Nations. It was widely reported everywhere. UN says 14,000 babies could die in Gaza in next 48 hours under Israeli aid blockade. And then the statement was quietly retracted. But how irresponsible. This is supposed to be the group that is in charge of human rights, that is supposed to be watching human rights and fixing, relations between countries and all that. That is putting out such a ridiculously dangerous, horrible statement. I mean, this probably contributed to the killing. You could argue that happened yesterday.
October 7th, Israel has sent 92,000 aid trucks into Gaza. That's right, 92,000 aid trucks. That includes 1.8 million tons of aid. 1.8 million tons of aid. More than enough food to feed everyone in Gaza. Yet as we had let the aid come in, Hamas stole it. They took a huge chunk for themselves. The rest they sold at exorbitant prices to the Palestinian population. And then they used the money they stole to recruit new terrorists to continue their war against Israel. Our goal from the start was to get food to Palestinian civilians, not to Palestinian terrorists.
We have, by the way, seen many videos where Palestinians, where Gazans have said the very same thing again and again, but every single time it's ignored. You have Gazans walking around and saying, curse Hamas, they have taken all the food, they're doing this and this to us. But all the free Palestine people are ignoring it. And I have to say, Israel is really bad at the whole, propaganda and PR thing, as it seems. I don't really understand.
It is weird. I mean, it's extremely weird because we've been saying it for a while, and then we were over there in like their media center where they're figuring out what they're going to address and so on. We're thinking this you're missing the most important stuff as far as the stuff that's going on social media and Twitter and stuff like that. And they seemed pretty darn clueless of how bad some of this stuff is getting and how they should be responding. And yet, simultaneously with that, with us thinking, well, they're good at lots of stuff, but this stuff they're really, really terrible at. Somehow, their opponents think they're these masterminds that are controlling all the media and social media and everything else. It's just really weird.
It's pretty weird.
So we consulted with our American allies. What do we do to prevent Hamas from looting the aid? Well, together we devised a mechanism to achieve this goal. American companies will distribute the food directly to Palestinian families. They'll do so in safe zone secured by our military. And this will allow us to complete our goal of destroying Hamas while enabling aid to reach the civilian population.
Hey, pause that.
Yes.
You catch that? Because that was brilliant. That was brilliant, everyone. So what's the problem? Well, you do have people, you do have kids and civilians and so on. And tons of them support the terrorists and so on. But there are those who don't. We've seen them because we've seen them protest and we've seen them get killed. And so how many more are there out there who just can't speak out because they don't want to be tortured and killed and so on? So you want to get aid to people. What are all these nations? Just send the aid in. Okay, what happens if you just send the aid in? What happens if you just send tons of trucks loaded with food and supplies in there? What happens? Hamas takes it instantly. And then they keep it and then they sell it at massive price. It's not being handed to civilians. It's being sold to people at exorbitant prices, as Netanyahu said there. So what happens? What's actually happening with these aid trucks? You're making more Hamas billionaires. And then they use the money both for themselves and to recruit new terrorists. So obviously you want to stop this. If we're just sending piles of money in there and we're just sending piles of money and piles of aid, but the aid is taken by the same group. And then this is just extending the process. What do you do about this? Well, he said, you're going to have people in there that are distributing the aid directly to the civilians. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, because it's going to be in areas where the Israeli military is protecting the civilians so that the civilians can come and get the aid and not be controlled by Hamas. Okay, that's a solution, but that's what they're being condemned for right now. Like, how dare you circumvent Hamas in this process? We want the aid to go directly to Hamas. So, guys, just to be clear on this, if 14,000 babies were on the brink of dying of starvation, if you don't just allow these endless aid trucks in right now, if that were true, letting all those aid trucks in would not make any of those babies not starve, because the aid trucks would just be taken over by Hamas. So what do you need? You need a system. That's what he's saying, and he's bad for it for some reason. Apparently anything that does not turn Hamas officials into make more billionaires out of these guys is unacceptable. And that's just insane, because you got Western leaders supporting this nonsense.
The very funny thing about all of this is that over 85% of the population in Gaza are currently living in what's called safe zones, from where they make videos, live regular lives, average lives. Occasionally, in parts of those safe zones, something happens. An airstrike is conducted. Something blows up. Somebody shoots something. But for most of it, the vast majority of the population is completely and entirely safe. and they were put in those safe zones by Israel. There was given to them proper warning until they could go there and could stay there. Most people, the average Gazan person, the average Gazan civilian right now, if they heeded all the warnings and did not stay back, live in safe zones, and most likely nothing will happen to them. There will be in no danger at all. They will live through this and get out of this alive. Things are really, really rough right now. But pay attention to the detail here. 85% of the population is placed into safe zones, evacuated and placed into safe zones by Israel themselves. Didn't we hear from the very beginning that Israel is doing this indiscriminate bombing and indiscriminate killing? They put the vast majority of the population into safe zones to protect them from everything that is going on. They're not being killed. They're not being brutally violated. None of that is going on.
Construction of the first distribution zones in the coming days. Ultimately, we intend to have large safe zones in the south of Gaza, and the Palestinian population will move there for their own safety while we conduct combat in other zones and receive humanitarian aid there without Hamas interference. In the meantime, we authorized letting trucks enter Gaza to provide for immediate needs. Yesterday, I think more than 100 trucks went in. More will come in today. I tell you this, no army in the world has ever gone to such lengths to provide aid to the civilian population in the midst of intense combat. And Hamas, of course, opposes this. It shoots Palestinian civilians who want to leave for safe zones, and it shoots Palestinian civilians who want to prevent Hamas terrorists from looting the aid trucks intended for them. As for the hostages, we'll do every effort to secure them. I'm ready for
Hey, you got a
temporary
massive echo
ceasefire
going, man.
to get more.
What is it?
Oh, your microphone is picking up the sound from your headphones when you're not talking, and it's auto adjusting and getting really loud.
More out, but we demand, and you should demand, that all of our hostages be released and released immediately. And so should every civilized country demand this.
Mhm.
We're in an intense seven-front war that was launched against us by Iran and its proxies. Sometimes in war, accidents happen. One such incident happened the other day in Jenin, and thankfully no one was hurt. Our military has expressed its regret over the event because we don't target civilians or diplomats. We target terrorists. Exactly the opposite of Hamas. They target civilians, ours, and they hide behind civilians, theirs. They use them as human shields. That's a double war crime. But I don't hear that coming from any one of those countries that could.
I can hear some of these people say, "Oh, so they don't target civilians? Oh, yeah. So why have people been killed? Why have civilians been killed in Gaza?" Well, once again, the comparison here is very simple. When the Palestinian activists had the chance, what did they do? They indiscriminately killed anybody they could, foremost civilians. What does the Israeli side do? Do they target and indiscriminately kill all the civilians? Anybody? No, they don't. They simply do not. We have civilian casualties that happen in every single war. That's what we have. But the vast majority of targeting, the vast majority of strikes are done with military targets. That's it. You can simply not prove that Israel is actually deliberately targeting civilians or anything like that. And if there are occasions where civilians are unnecessarily hurt or targeted or something like that by any rogue people, they usually deal with disciplinary action from the Israeli army itself. Not so with Hamas. They can do whatever they want.
Criticize Israel. For those who say that Israel stands alone, I say we're not alone. Justice stands with us. The truth stands with us. History stands with us. And so do countless people around the world who can tell the difference between right and wrong, between good and evil. I want to thank all of them. And I especially want to thank President Trump and the American people for their forthright stand with Israel and with the Jewish people. Together we stand, together we'll triumph, and we'll see the victory of civilization over barbarism.
It was not too bad. Not the worst speech I've heard.
No, it's pretty good. Yeah, so it looks like they're what he's describing there. You put and what you were describing as well. That you get people, as many people as you can, into safe zones while you carry out your hunt for terrorists and so on. That's exactly what you need to do. I mean, apart from just deporting the entire population or something like that, if you want to deal with the terrorists without killing everybody, what do? You have to start dividing up places and making safe zones and stuff like that, and going and fighting in different areas. It's exactly what they're doing. You do have this problem of all the aid that people send in gets taken over by Hamas and used to enrich themselves and to recruit more terrorists. What do you do about that? They're dealing with that. So I don't know. Seems like I can't think of something where they should be doing things significantly differently.
That's true.
That would have been funny if he said, if he had said, and Ezra, the son of Allah, stands with us. That would have been, you see, around the world, you see, the Quran was right all along.
The truth. You see, the Jews, they do worship Ezra. The Quran was right.
We knew it all along. Ezra's the god of the media and banks.
JNS says apparent manifesto of alleged DC shooter found. FBI raids Chicago home. I'm not sure why. Is this just a tradition that they alleged DC shooter when it's like clearly the shooter? I don't know. I understand the purpose of putting alleged when you don't want to get in legal trouble when there's a crime that has to be established. But we all know that he actually did shoot. So
yeah, it's just a standard thing. Just hey, whenever you're saying until a person's actually been convicted, always say that just in case.
Except when we say Andrew Tate is a rapist. Yeah. Okay.
And a sex trafficker.
Yeah, and pervert. Yeah. The FBI raided the Chicago apartment of Elias Rodriguez on Thursday, searching for clues in their investigation of the 30-year-old who is accused of shooting and killing. Wait, 30-year-old? That can't be Dick Fuentes' boyfriend, man. That's like 20 years too old. Who is accused of shooting and killing two Israeli embassy employees in Washington on Wednesday night as they left an American Jewish Committee Young Professionals event at the Capitol Jewish Museum. FBI Chicago is conducting court-authorized law enforcement activity in the Chicago area in relation to yesterday's tragic shooting in Washington, D.C. Last night's act of terrorism, terror has the full attention of the FBI. Yada, 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 yada. Den Bongino. They were a beautiful couple. Happy New Year, death to Israel. After allegedly shooting Milgram and Lashinsky, Rodriguez entered the Jewish Museum and was detained by security at the AJC event. Witnesses told local news that Rodriguez ran into the museum shortly after he opened fire around 9 p.m. and that the attendees initially mistook him for a potential victim of the shooting and offered him water and other support. He shouted free Palestine with a red keffiyeh at his feet. Once in handcuffs, the suspect identified where he discarded the weapon, and that weapon has been recovered, and he implied that he committed the offense. The Washington police chief said on Wednesday, "We believe the shooting was committed by a single suspect." Really? On January 1st, 2024... Wait, among the posts on a social media account attributed to the suspect are statements that suggest that he holds far-left, violent, pro-Hamas and anti-Israel views. Happy New Year, death to Israel. Progressive tweeps, as much as I love delving into days of discourse, can we please save the idealistic and high-minded debate over the morality of sending a truck bomb into the offices of the New York Times until after we send a truck bomb into the office? Another post reads, "Oh, what a wonderful guy." The PSL made a statement and said we have nothing to do with the shooting. There is another post that was going around in which the account associated with this guy apparently, oh yeah, here, posted death to America. Yep. So, careful, America. This guy's coming after you. Careful. You might die soon. This guy's coming after you.
No, he needs to worry about Big Bubba in prison coming for him.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy.
I'm just saying. It's about to go. He's about to go full Al-Zut up in there.
Let's see what the Wikipedia article says.
He's
so
about
far.
to get zooted.
The two victims, Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Milgram, were a couple. Lishinsky was a German-Israeli staff member at the Israeli embassy working as a research assistant with responsibilities that included monitoring developments in the Middle East. Lishinsky's friend said he was a devout Christian with good character. Milgram was an American Jew working in the public diplomacy department responsible for community relations. The couple likely met through their embassy assignments. Lishinsky moved from Nuremberg in Bavaria, Germany to Israel at the age of 16 before relocating to Washington to work for the embassy. According to Yechiel Leiter, the Israeli ambassador to the United States, the couple was planning to become engaged in Jerusalem the following week. Suspect Elias Rodriguez wore a keffiyeh and shouted, "Free, free Palestine." Born, raised in Chicago, graduated from the University of Illinois, Chicago with an English degree. I bet that will be very helpful in prison. So his Goodreads accounts show that he reviewed books on politics, slavery, the history of Chicago, and Maoism. He was briefly associated with the left-wing political party for socialism and liberation, of course. In the party's official newspaper, Liberation News published an article which described a speech by Rodriguez as an anti-Amazon protest. A local news report from 2018 identified Rodriguez as a member of the protest group called ANSWER, an acronym for Act Now to Stop War and End Racism. You know, these left-wing radicals are just the most messed up bunch around there. Like, there's something wrong with their brain.
Even that. Act now to end war and racism. Act now to stop war and end racism. And then, hey, okay, how are you going to go about that? We're going to kill all the Jews.
Kill the Jews.
Because we can't stand racism.
I want to end racism by going and killing and brutally shooting and again this woman until she is dead.
It's the only way to end racism.
The New York Times found pro-Palestinian signs in the window of a Chicago apartment occupied by Rodriguez, including one that said Tikkun Olam means free Palestine. Are you freaking kidding me, man? Tikkun Olam is a Jewish concept of healing the world. So, whatever, repairing the world. Other political signs from his apartments were discovered, some facing the street below. One sign called for a ceasefire, and another said Free Palestine in handwritten letters. A third sign said Justice for Wadia, referring to Wadia Al-Fayoum, a boy who was stabbed by his family's landlord, motivated by anti-Palestinianism. And so on. Journalist Ken Klippenstein published Rodriguez's alleged manifesto, Escalate for Gaza, Bring the War Home, signed, which was originally posted on X. Let's see. Let us see. I didn't really see that yet. But I also don't really want to look at it. I don't really care, honestly. In all honesty, I don't really care. Anyway, let's take a few super chats here. So the motive, the moral of the story here is don't be a terrorist. And if you're a terrorist, then you're a bastard. That's it. Apo Baker, Alpaf Daddy, deepest condolences for Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Milgram. Beautiful young people. May God grant them eternal peace. May we be inspired by them to make the world better. Amen. Amen. For years, I have been very frustrated and angry with law enforcement and the courts for their reluctance to arrest and prosecute Antifa. Rioting, vandalism, threats are not free speech. Confront Antifa. Antifa gives political justification for criminal actions. Islam gives religious sanctification to immoral conduct. Both ideologies are anti-human. Very, very much true. Steph's became a member again. Red Sainwa says, did you catch and Hamas after his chant? Yeah, somebody was shouting whenever he said free, free Palestine. No, I think that the response was from Hamas. I think that was the response. KLF, globalize the Intifada and free, free Palestine. Slogans have nothing to do with Gazans. It is an incitement to violence against Jews. True. True. Your favorite maid. Welcome. Welcome. Hassan Piker is demon possessed. He is. Think it was Jew against the wall at Hamas. They believe in Jesus, not Ezra. Yes. Appears he targeted the most attractive young couple. These people are filled with envy, rage, and hate. It is messed up. He seems to have just randomly. He seems to have wanted to just approach and kill somebody attending the event, and eventually ended up killing these two people. Thracian Alpha DNA, AP, why are you Orthodox and not Messianic Christian? That's a good question. Asa, this is what they meant when they said globalize the Intifada. Exactly. This is what globalizing the Intifada is. Boys search Mark Levin, this is evil on earth. Fox News, he hit the nail on the head. I shall look at it. Divine Mercy says, all the evidence was live streamed by these people. The evidence is all public. How can people be this stupid? My prayers go out for the Jewish people. Amen. Lear Gill says, my boyfriend's Messianic. He accepted Jesus 9 months to the day we met. Talk about rebirth. Understanding Messianic prophecies like Isaiah 53 would help Christians realize the centrality of Jews to our faith. Romans 9 through 11. Yeah, this is the thing. There are some people who are not familiar with Messianic Jews who there's always a debate about what they are, and like they're technically just Christians, but they identify as Messianic Jews because I guess there's something about preserving the Jewish aspect and the Jewish roots and the Jewish identity and tradition and practices and so on. It also really, really helps put things into perspective. I honestly think that me exploring Judaism for like a year or so helped me understand a lot about Christianity. And when I went to a church, an Orthodox church, for the first time, I could see all the related things, things related, but things that are very, very Jewish in Christianity, and all the Jewish stuff when it comes to Jesus. So I don't know. I think people should have more appreciation for the Jewish aspect and roots of Christianity. And these people do. Sarah F., congratulations, Free Palace. You have successfully named 2 more of my future children. Do that. Gabriel Valencia, I learned a new word today. Thank you. Decedent. Songs of Relief, thank you for talking about who they were and are. Appreciate that. I saw first the first thing posted. Oh yeah, this is what I saw. This is where I first got the news, and then I looked it up and found more information about this. So this is One for Israel Ministry. This is one of the main Messianic Jewish. Wait, this is the Messianic Jewish, right? Or is this just Christian Zionist? Is it Messianic?
I think One for Israel is Messianic.
Okay. This is one of the Messianic Jewish organizations, and they said, we are deeply saddened by and appalled by the devastating news of the violent terrorist attack that took the lives of 2 of our dedicated embassy staff in Washington, Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Lynn Milgram. Both were Messianic believers. Yaron was well known among the believing community in Israel and will be deeply missed. Our hearts go out to their grieving families in this time of sorrow, and we remain steadfast in our support for them. May their memories be a blessing. Amen. Yeah, it's a very small community, so they knew him, and this organization immediately put out the news. That's where I first got it from. Half Spanish Messianic rabbi told my Bible study group that a person with a Spanish name that ends with "es" is likely to have Jewish ancestry, so Rodriguez may have that lineage. I don't know. I doubt that.
Rodriguez or Rodriguez-Bergstein?
Jack Ray, it is apparent that the Gaza supporters are programming people in the U.S. That chant style is even more sick to many now. I know.
It will be rough to keep that particular version of the chant going now, because anyone around there who's not on their side is going to be like, hey, why are you saying it the same way that that terrorists did it?
People need to utilize propaganda a little bit more. I'm thinking of something very, very, very nice right now, which is, if they want to do propaganda like that, if they want to spread chants like that, here is something you can do if you want to utilize the propaganda against them. Take that man, that scum, shouting his chant, "Free, free Palestine," put it together with news of him brutally killing these two beautiful people. Put their pictures up there. Add some music to it. Make it go around and associate that chant with what these bastards did and want to do. Make it, burn it into people's minds, how messed up and how evil the propaganda is. Use the propaganda against them. Spread it.
That sounds like something you could do tonight, AP. Just take some clips of them chanting, "Free, free Palestine," then him, "Free, free Palestine," then go back to them, "Free, free Palestine," then go back to him, "Free, free Palestine," and then picture of the people who are killed.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. You were correct.
In the future, whenever I hear that chant, I will think of that bastard who killed these beautiful people. And so should everybody else. Here is Ninja Unicorn. I saved this earlier, saying Zionism is racism. I saved this for a reason, because I thought it would be a good opportunity to once again.
What's Zionism got to do with racism?
I would like to explain once again something for people who have very, very dumb ideas about things. Now, here is the thing. I really wonder what this guy thinks Zionism is. But in fact, before we finish this live stream later, I will just play a clip in which I explain what Zionism is. But here is the thing. Zionism simply is the ideology of supporting a state for Jews, supporting a state where Jews exist. That's what it is. A state where Jews may freely live. That's it. That's what Zionism is. How is that racism? There's nothing racist about it. If you, at this point, have the idea that Zionism is something worse, something evil, something really, really bad, I'm sorry, but you are a victim of idiotic propaganda. And you need to educate yourself and get re-educated.
And you need to stop watching Nick Fuentes all day.
Yes. If you associate it with anything else, you need to educate yourself once again. If you think, oh no, it comes with hating Palestinians, no, it doesn't. It does not. Zionism itself does not. You might now argue and say, but Zionists did this and that. Completely different discussion. Zionism itself is none of those things. Don't be stupid. Okay. Michelle, what's up, Michelle? It's good to see you here. Hey, boys, praying for you both. One for Israel said both Messianic Jews. The world seems to see this yet cry Islam equals peace. Isaiah 5:20 playing out. Thank you for that, Michelle. Always good to see you here. Laird Gill says, also, David just sent you the email we've discussed. The email, David, she sent the email we've discussed. Keep it quiet.
I got it. Don't tell me.
Kyle Mukian says, yes, Free Palestine is the modern Nazi slogan. Yes. Moo Joe made a super sticker. I appreciate that very, very much. Chad Winger, the ultimate Dawa destroyer, says, Hey, look at this. Chad Winger, the ultimate Dawa destroyer.
That's pretty funny. Except
Says
for it's got a Chad Winger. Doesn't even go together. It's like square circle.
David Wire. Why are most Dawa guys either South Asian or MENA? Southeast Asian or West African Dawa guys are very rare. Somalia does have a few Dawa guys, though. David, what's the reason for that?
Yeah, I haven't done the math or checked any or even thought about any statistics on where these guys are coming from, but it would make sense that you have different groups in different parts of the world. You have different sort of Islamic groups are dominant in different areas, and some of those groups would place more emphasis on Dawa than others. So it would make sense in theory, but yeah, I don't know the actual numbers or anything. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a very good response. That explains everything. MT, it was an Israel aid event where they were discussing how to get Christian, Jewish, Muslim groups to coordinate on aid in Gaza. Listen, stop helping. Yeah. Your favorite made a super sticker. Thank you. I appreciate it. But the thing is, there is an ongoing war, and the war is pretty messed up. Israel and the Israeli side has been doing what is necessary and expected of them to help with the humanitarian situation in the region, and it is their duty to do so. You could argue that the other side has been so terribly and horribly bad that Israel should no longer be helping and should no longer be trying to bring humanitarian aid into the place. The thing is, I think it would be the right thing to do to still continue doing that. As much as it gets very, very difficult and horrible, it is the right thing to do to still take care of the civilian population, as much as they are a danger, as much as they are embedded in the evils of the other side. Yeah, it's still the right thing to do, despite all the horrible stuff that's coming out from the other side, I would say.
Yeah, it's and you have that principle biblically. When Abraham's talking to God about destroying Sodom and Gomorrah, and he starts, what if there's 50 righteous people in the midst of all those bad evil people? God's like, okay, I won't destroy them. Like, what about 40? And he gets all the way down. What if there's 10? What if there's 10 good people in that entire town? God's like, I won't destroy it. I won't destroy it if there's 10 people there. So the idea there is even if you have tons and tons of evil people, if they're not all evil, you want to do everything you can. Sometimes there's no way around it, and there's collateral damage and stuff like that. But if you can come up with a way, but it sounds like that's exactly what they're doing. Trying to figure out ways to get aid to the actual people, some of whom do not support the terrorists, while not giving it to the terrorists.
That's very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. Daylight made a super sticker. Appreciate it very, very much. I bigly wish that you guys would watch and discuss one of Oren's videos from Traveling Israel. He's been recommended to you 487 times. Did you guys ever watch one of his videos? I came across one of his videos before. I didn't really watch much of it. I don't really watch many videos, so that's a big problem. David, what do you think?
I have a mixed reaction right now. On the one hand, he used the number 487, so I'm inclined to go along with that. On the other hand, he's stealing my number, and so I don't want to ever do anything this guy says. So I don't know.
That makes sense. Here is a verse that is from the Bible, which I would say is one that I think about, which is from Proverbs 7:25, which goes, "If your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he is thirsty, give him water to drink, for so you will heap coals of fire on his head, and the Lord will reward you." Very, very, actually very deep. David, what does this mean? As an interpreter of
Hang on.
text, what does this mean?
Hey, you
David?
figure that out. I'm looking up. Wait, what? You want me to read it? Oh,
Yeah.
If your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he is thirsty, give him water to drink. So you heap coals of fire on his head, and the Lord will reward you. Yeah, it's self-explanatory. I'm looking up because I saw people saying give this guy capital punishment, death penalty, and stuff. I'm looking up what the laws are in D.C. District of Columbia does not have a death penalty. It was abolished in 1981. The district's death penalty law was nullified by the Supreme Court decision in Furman versus Georgia in 72 and formally repealed by the D.C. Council in 1981.
That's
hang on. D.C. law has 30 years to life imprisonment without release for the most severe crimes. But while D.C. bans the death penalty, federal prosecutors can still push for capital punishment for federal crimes. Terrorism would be that. So, okay, this guy could get the death penalty.
That's interesting. The people who support us, I wonder if they would support us holding all Muslims accountable for Hamas. Let's apply the same standard to them. Of course, they would totally accept this man because they are they're the most consistent people on the face of the planet, or on the face of the planet. So, they will always accept it as well. If they blame the Jews for everything, then we can also always blame the Muslims for everything that one person does. It's completely reasonable. Yeah. Yeah. Noam MKW capital punishment.
Hey, that hypocrisy. You have two. There's another huge hypocrisy there. So you got that one, right? You got that one. That now this guy's a leftist, but a lot of the people who are celebrating him and celebrating the idea of just killing two people who are going to an event like that, those are the exact same people who told us for years after every Islamic terrorist attack, hey, don't associate that with any other Muslim, even though it has something to do with Islam, and it's right out of the Muslim sources. Do not associate that with any other Muslim ever. It's wrong and immoral to associate anything, even Islam itself, with Muslims. So don't ever do that. Keep everything completely separate. Those are the same people. There's a Jew, kill them anywhere. Any Jew in the world, kill them all, right? Because of what this Jew over there did. So you've got that. But then in addition to that, you've got this guy. We're always warned that if you keep criticizing Islam, this will lead to an anti-Muslim wave of hate crimes, right? We've been warned about that for years. In fact, we've been warned about that after every Islamic terrorist attack ever. We're warned. If you criticize Islam for this, you're basically calling for genocide against Muslims. So don't ever associate any of these terrorist attacks with Islam, because if you do, you're going to get a wave of anti-Muslim hate crimes. You don't want to do that, do you? So the exact same people who told us that for years are the same people who run around the Jews, except the big difference is this actually does lead to Jews being killed at random.
Yes.
So double hypocrisies everywhere.
Sankey, Kanye has apologized for anti-Semitism. You think it's related to this case, or did he just finally take his meds? I have a very simple response to this, but I don't want to sound like a doctor when we have a doctor here in the room with us. But let's actually have a look at this. So Kanye West, after the attack happened,
hey, click on that. See if my response comes up. While we were here, I typed a response to him. There it is.
Dear Yi, if you are serious about being done with anti-Semitism, you need to sever ties with anyone around you who has been encouraging your anti-Semitic behavior. Surround yourself with better people who won't use you for their own agenda.
Because what I'm saying right there is, if he's it's always because he's bipolar, so it's possible that he just switched to a different pole right now and that he's in a different place. Also possible that he did take his meds. Also possible that he's just He looked at what's going on. And, hey, I've been sitting here, Heil Hitler, and then Jews just got killed. What's going on here? Possible that and any combination of that. But here's the thing. He's bipolar, so he's gonna swing he's gonna swing to insane. It's a matter of time before he swings to insane. When that happens, when you are swinging back and forth between insanity, and so on, you need to make sure that there are good people around you to help you when you're losing your mind. What you don't want is a bunch of people like Nick Fuentes and Milo and Sneeko and stuff around you when you're losing it, because they're going to take advantage of that. And so, yep.
So here's the
I'm
thing.
doing
I wouldn't spend a second thinking that there's anything genuine about this. The one thing is that he has a severe form of bipolar disorder, possibly with severe paranoia and psychotic features.
and
He,
seems to get worse over time. Seems to get
it
worse over
seems
time.
that he's unmedicated, because the last time he actually blamed his medication. He blamed the Jews for his medication, and said that the Jews were giving him medication to stifle his potential and all that, and were trying to kill him or something like that. So he seems like an unmedicated bipolar guy, but he also, aside from just being mentally ill, is a horrible person, as it seems. And his track record speaks for himself. How many times did he come around and appear like, oh, no, I'm gonna be a better person now, and then 2 days later he once again turns around and is just the worst person in the world. He said, I am done with anti-Semitism. I love all people. God forgive me for the pain I've caused. It's very, very interesting, because just a few weeks ago he called himself God. So I guess he's praying to himself. Forgive those who have caused me pain. Thank you, God. I simply got a FaceTime from my kids and I want to save the world again. I'm sorry, but this just sounds like psychosis. And the earth itself is in God's kingdom. God calls for peace, share love. So here is a very mentally ill person, and there are millions of people out there actually feeding this mentally ill person instead of trying to help him or leaving him alone. They're feeding him, and he's just playing into the mental illness. I don't know. This is Kanye West. He has a creative genius. It could also very well be that it's not mental illness, and that he's just a very, very morally sick person who loves doing this whole thing, this whole bit where he goes good and bad and good and bad and good.
No,
and bad.
he's mentally ill. The way he talks when he's clearly messed up, like this weird incoherent speech, like, hey, what I'm saying is making perfect sense, but it's not making sense at all. That's exactly what people sounded like in a mental hospital.
Mm-hmm.
He sounded exactly like them. In fact, the only reason he's not in a mental hospital is because he has piles and piles of money.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as Kanye and him being mentally ill and stuff, and it's the exact same dynamic with Joe Biden for the past couple of years, where Biden was clearly incompetent, not all there, and he's being used as a puppet and so on. But I had no hostility to Biden for that, because I don't think he's even competent anymore. You can blame him for stuff that he did when he was competent, but not when he's completely incompetent. It's, you blame all the people around him who are using him when he's just completely lost it. And likewise with Kanye, there's all sorts of stuff. If he does something when he's coherent and thinking clearly, then you blame him for that. If he's lost it, then you basically oughta, need to lock him in a room during that time. Need good people around him to put him in a room when he's losing it. I mean, he's got money. Could even have a really, really nice place. Okay, Kanye, you're in a dark place right now. And oops, all the internet is down for the next 3 months. So just stay here and play video games and stuff like that. And don't under any circumstances send a message to anybody.
So This is just a funny thing. He talks about God again, but just a while ago he tweeted, I'm God." Um, just a short time ago, a few months ago, he tweeted, despite identifying as a Christian, like a year ago or so or two, he said, "My name is Ye, and I don't need to be saved. What you go and wash me in the imaginary blood of Jesus." That's what he said. And so on. And then there is a part where he explains that he's not a Christian, that he's in fact God himself, or something like that. Let's see. I don't. You know what? I don't care. I really don't care. I don't want to look into this. Why are we looking into mental illness? I don't want to look into this. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care at all. Kanye has a no, he hasn't. He just published a freaking music video where he paid people to sing Heil Hitler on video. Tate said cinema was based. How do we stop this? Turn off Tate. Jay, I bet he was unemployed all his life. They all are, yes. Chad Winger, the ultimate Dawa destroyer. Mohammedanism is racism. Raisin had anyone? Exactly. Messianic Israeli here. Thanks for supporting us. Only through people like you I managed to find Christ. Wow, very nice. Very nice. Thank you, Jan. Appreciate that. Sarah F. MT 1822. Our Lord says to forgive 77 times. 77 times. What does it actually say? Matthew 18.
In math, that means 70 times 7. But you have different translations for that, whether it's 77 or 70 times 7 and so on.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, that's yeah. So Jesus is asked how many times should you forgive? Up to 7 times, and he goes, no, 77 times, or 70 times 7. The idea is not, hey, some specific number and you're counting up to that. And you're like, oh, well, there we go. You went beyond that. It's kind of, no, just if your brother keeps coming back to you and asking for forgiveness, then keep forgiving him.
Yep. It says so right here. I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 77 times 7. That is pretty based. Chris Creative said, just showed him a map of how big Zion is when Jesus rules from Jerusalem. Powerful. Zach Lawrence, why are Latinos at top unis mostly pro-Palestine? Ask them. I don't really know. Chad Winger, by the way, pro wrestling ring is called the square circle. Yeah.
You still have lots of communist influence in lots of South and Central American places. So always possible that. Yep.
That's true. That's true as well. You have that going on. At the very least, Israel aid to Gaza will reflect better on Israel to future historians. Israel is playing the long PR game, you see. Yep. Fox McCloud, it's cool when you freak to the beat, but don't sweat the technique. Mahatma Gandhi. Oh, yeah. Interesting. I didn't know that quote. For the 2 murdered Jews, please eat the Quran. Well, I don't want to do that because the guy was a socialist, so, you know. Songs of relief.
Let's eat a page of Mein Kampf, and then followed that by Das Kapital or something like that.
Yeah. I repent for using the holy number. Will spank myself and go to bed. But surely traveling in Israel is great, and I've spent so many shekels trying to hook you up with him. A fool and money, you know. That's a good thought. I know.
Hey, we do need all those. We need Das Kapital for the commies, Mein Kampf for the Nazis, and the Quran for the jihadis.
We do. Smokeless Choice says there's 2.5 billion Muslims worldwide. They say only 20% are terrorists. Only 20? You know what that is? That's 500 million. Powerful. Fox McCloud, chill, bro. I can only do 2 at a time, Muhammad. Celia Rosenfeld, I hope for Kanye.
What? That's why it took all night. They were taking turns. What?
I hope for Kanye nonetheless. I pray he gets help, but also I wonder how this is affecting Sneeko and how it will affect his trajectory. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I haven't checked on Sneeko. I was while we are here. I was looking up how various people were responding. Yeah, I'm gonna check Sneeko. I'm blocked, but I can still read them. Thankfully.
Oh, speaking of blocked, I saw that somebody else also posted about Jews this morning. Probably got scared or something. I don't know. Let's see. Let's have a look at that. I saw that earlier. I saw that earlier. I saw that earlier. I saw that earlier. Juice, 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 juice.
I don't see anything from Sneeko, man. I mean, he's posted, but I don't see anything on this issue.
Juice, 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 juice. Okay, here, look. So we have another figure who recently whose fan base started coming at me because of my defense and my love for Jews. He posted this morning, I guess after the terrorist attack, the promotion of Hitler stuff is an obvious and ridiculous op. We are called to love Jews and not hate anyone. Now, here's the thing. I haven't so far checked the responses, the replies, but I see that the ratio here is not looking very good. 418 comments and 1,000 likes. Not a very popular tweet with his audience, it seems. But here's the funny thing. I appreciate the sentiment of him saying we are called to love Jews and not hate anyone. So it's actually very significant to me to see him directly say we are called to love Jews, not all people, but directly to love Jews, because lots of people on his side here are probably have a little bit of a problem with Jews. But then the promotion of Hitler stuff is an obvious and ridiculous op. So what he's saying here, for those who don't understand the language here, is he's saying it's a psyop, it's a plot by certain interests and certain powers, by the feds or something, an operation to infiltrate and to mess up the circles and mix bad ideas into the crowds and so on. Seriously, man, can't you just admit for a second that your audience and that the people that you hang out with are engaged in some really, really messed up and stupid ideas and evil, nonsensical, horrible ideas, instead of blaming it on some ridiculous conspiracy theory again? Everything is a freaking conspiracy. It could just be that the people who listen to you are retarded. It doesn't have to be a conspiracy, you know? But at least he said we are called to love the Jews, because yeah, that's exactly what your Christian Bible says. And I tell you, yes, you are called to love everybody, but especially Jews. Especially Jews have a position in the New Testament, in your Christian Bible, where Paul himself specifically talks about not to be arrogant and hateful toward them. He doesn't talk about this with specifying people about anybody else, only about Jews. Maybe he was biased because he himself was a Jew, I don't know. But you are specifically reminded to not hate the Jews and not to be arrogant toward them. So it's good that he at least points this out, but then again, he turns it into a whole conspiracy theory. I don't know.
Hey, that would actually be funny. We don't have to love the Jews. But Paul said, why am I going to trust a Jew?
Here's Travis Alaric says, AP, the modern Jews are Turkic descent. Number one, that's a stupid conspiracy theory that has been debunked into oblivion, it should be, but apparently because there are lots of dumb people around, it doesn't get debunked into oblivion. It gets debunked into the oblivion of any sane person, but pretty bad people who are bad with facts actually still hold on to it. If the modern Jews were actually descendants of the Khazar Turkic people, they wouldn't look the way they look today. Are you aware of that, Travis? Do you know the way I
look? They'd look like idiots. they're actually Turkic. They look
I
like
don't-
weird. They look like weird aliens, and possibly otters.
Look, I don't look very Turkic. It's probably because I have a lot, because I'm probably very much originally Armenian, Greek with some Turkish influence and so on.
Yes,
But
you're,
if
you're
the-
like tiny percent otter.
Yeah, but if the Jews were actually descendants of the Khazars, they would probably look something like the I don't know, the Central Asian Turkic populations, such as the Turkmens. Let's see, they probably look like them a little bit, like this here, like this. I don't know. They would probably look like the Uzbeks or the Kazakhs or something
otters.
like that, or like the otters. They probably look like the Uzbeks. How in the world do you think the modern Jews go back to a Turkic population that came about only in the around 1,000 years ago or so? You have DNA that goes way back before that of Jewish populations. Don't be ridiculous, man. I just can't take it seriously when you come here and you come with a conspiracy theory that that you can literally debunk, sitting in front of a computer, googling it and looking at the latest findings on it, and then you see the latest research on this, and you see that research after research after research debunked this stupid conspiracy over and over again, but you're too lazy to look at the facts, so you come here and spread the dumb conspiracy theory again. How can I take you seriously? It's so stupid, man. Don't be an idiot, okay? I really don't want to insult your person. I really want to be respectful, but how do you expect respect when you are so deliberately stupid? Oh man. His message said, AP, would you be willing to have a discussion with Jedi to try to reconcile your beef? I'm not sure if you're seeing this here on my screen here, but as you can see right here, Jedi is grayed out for me. It's because he blocked me. I don't have beef with Jedi. Jedi has beef with me.
Yeah, no, this is just a common thing. You learn over time. Okay, this is something this is someone I would just not get along with. And, no, you got to squash the beef. Why? Why can't there just be people that we don't get along with, and so we don't work with them? Like, why? Guys, there are 2 billion Christians in the world. We don't have to work with all of them. We do not have to work with all of them. Not in the way you're talking about, where you have to be buddies and doing shows together. There are certain people we disagree with a lot on a lot of issues, and don't want to be working with them in that way. So get that through your head.
Here's the thing. When people ask me in the past about Jay Dyer, I was always very respectful. And I also had him on my channel, I think, twice or 3 times or so. And I was also a guest on his channel once. And we always had very respectful interactions. I've had lots of respect for him. I often pointed out that he's very knowledgeable, very intelligent, and all that. I also pointed out here and there that I don't agree with everything he says because he has some weird ideas, and sometimes he's too intelligent for his own good, and so on. But I have been very, very respectful from the very beginning. But Jay Dyer has a very obvious giant ego problem. And I saw certain things that I chose to ignore, such as he approached me about a topic that we were supposed to talk about, like, was ISIS created by Mossad and CIA? And I called it a very dumb conspiracy theory. So he challenged me to a debate on this. I had a conversation with him in our private chats about arranging this debate. I actually said to him, look, I really like you, and this is a very heated debate. I would rather not have this debate with you because I don't want to turn it into some, messed up thing. But still, I would have it if you really want to. He then went on his own Twitter page. When somebody asked him if I'm going to debate this topic with him, he actually told somebody else, I saw that comment, he told somebody else about me that I told him in private that I actually am not very invested in this topic, or that I actually don't know much about this topic, or something like that. Like, he was just casually lying about me. Why would you do that? It's a very weird thing to do. It seems like it's an ego thing. Like, he wants to. Somebody asks him about whether this debate will take place or not, and he wants to just casually depict himself as superior, or casually depict himself as right about the topic anyway. So he casually lies about me and makes up something that I never said. Why would you do something like that? I saw this and I ignored it. And I thought, okay, he seems to have a weird ego trip. I ignored it. And then I see him going around and doing, like, he talks about things that he seems to care about, that he seems to concern himself a lot with. But the focus is always, oh, I have been pointing this out for years now. I said this thing first. Or I did this thing first. Or now people are catching on, but they are not pointing out that I have been saying. Like, he has this very strange attitude of, he doesn't actually care about truth and about what is going on. He rather cares that he himself gets credit for pointing out that something is, that something is going on. He has a very, very big obsession with his own ego. And then he started attacking me. In our interactions, he directly lied to me and then about me, and then insulted me and blocked me for some reason. He also privately said some weird things to me about the Orthodox Church. As much as I respect a lot about him, including his, knowledge and all that, he's not a very honest person. He's a liar. He has repeatedly proven to be a liar. He's extremely arrogant, and I don't think that there's any way or any reason for me to get along with him at all. We are very, very different individuals. Okay. So,
And here again, I still don't understand. Like, okay, you say, this guy doesn't seem like someone I would want to be around. And there's certain, like, if you're talking about, you have a private conversation with someone and then they completely misrepresent it. When that happens, I don't want to communicate with that person anymore. I don't. And it's just this weird thing on the internet. Hey, no, you got to get together with a person to squash the beat. What if based on everything I know about this person, I know I do not want to interact with this person? Am I allowed to not interact with that person? Or do I have to interact with every last person that you say I have to interact with? Is that the rule? Because I'm just saying this because I get this all the time. I learn over time, do not want to be around this person. And I'm told you have to be around this person. Why? Why is that a rule? I'm not familiar with that. You even had, even in the book of Acts, you had Paul and Barnabas say, you know what, we're not getting along over this issue, so let's separate. I have no idea whether or not why people aren't allowed to do that now.
Look, this is actually the most again, sometimes I see something and I can really respect it. This is actually the most based thing that I've seen so far from him. So he posts about how we are supposed to love the Jews and not hate anyone. Then this guy comes, whom I apparently blocked, and says, serious question, the way that John Chrysostom talks about them, does he love them? So John Chrysostom had some really, really serious condemnations of the Jews of his time and of Judaism in his time. But it was mostly in a speech addressed to Christians themselves about the Judaizers, who were people who were insisting that Christians should just follow Old Testament laws and all that. And it was also a time of huge tensions between Jews and Christians. J. Dyrus's response is something that I would have thought of saying. But the funny thing is, I did say stuff like this in the past. And when I did say it, his own crowds, his own people, his own group and all that, his diorites who follow him around, insulted me and attacked me for this. This is exactly what I would say. Do we follow one church father or divine revelation? Where are you told not to love your enemies in Revelation? This is exactly how I would have responded. And I'm pretty sure that I did give this response when people asked me about John Chrysostom's words about Jews. This is very funny to me. The response is, I see. Had I said this very same thing, they would be all attacking me right now and posting about me. About how I'm trying to corrupt Christianity with Jew loving and all that. This is very, very hilarious to me. I don't know.
Hey, someone posted freak Muhammad Rasulullah.
Wait, he was on the show of these two retards? What the hell?
Look,
Seriously. I lost all respect.
Someone posted freak Muhammad Rasulullah.
Oh, that's good.
I'm wondering if the freak was meant to imitate free Palestine. If so, you could actually come up with a better parallel. It would be what the men of Al-Zut were chanting, which was freak Mo's behind, freak Mo's behind, freak Mo's behind. We might want to replace that like anytime people start doing the chant now, because the chant has been destroyed. It got destroyed by being used by a terrorist. And so how do you get them to stop using a slogan used by a terrorist? Well, make it about Muhammad every time.
Look at this. It's the most beautiful look that I've ever seen of Jay Dyer.
That's Jay Dyer?
Yeah. What's your problem, man? Wow, look at this. Look at this. Here. Orthodox Christians, supposedly. Hitler would be far preferential to any world leader the West has today. National Socialism is the only solution to the Jewish world order that is ruling us today. Here's the funny thing. I really wonder if this person actually goes to any church, any Orthodox church. Convince me. Go to any known Orthodox Christian priest or bishop and repeat these lines to him. And see what kind of a reaction you get from that Orthodox clergyman. Really, I cannot think of a single church that is actually in communion with the Greater Eastern Orthodox Church that would approve of this disgusting, vile bunch of human excrement that I see here. You know, there is a great channel which is an Eastern Orthodox film channel called Harmony. They make very, very good videos. Here, this channel here, which I am subscribed to and also actually am a member of to watch their members-only videos. This channel makes some really, really, really good stuff. Recently, as you can see here, I watched certain videos with my wife that they made. Recently, they dedicated quite some time on making a film series about Alexander Schmurel from The White Rose. I actually wanted to ask them for permission to show some of it on my channel here, because I thought it was amazingly done. After they were done with that, they spent the last few weeks making a series about Saint Maria of Paris. Both of these people are known as saints in the Greater Eastern Orthodox Church because they fought the Nazis and were murdered by the Nazis. That's primarily what they were known for. So there is a title called Passion Bearer for Saints. And a passion bearer is one who is acknowledged as having undergone or having shown Christ-like behavior and suffered and killed for it. Alexander Schmurel is one of those people. We have talked about him in the past here, you and I, David. He fought the Nazis. He wrote very, very good stuff with his friends about the Nazis, warned people not to support the Nazis, warned people and called people to rebel and to end the Nazi rule and so on. The Nazis cracked down on him and his friends and beheaded and killed them. Saint Maria of Paris, she was a nun who dedicated her life to saving people, helping those in need. During the Second World War, she actually turned her little place in which she was helping people into a refuge for Jews who were persecuted, and swore to save as many Jews as she could. She would go into Jewish communities, or into places where Jews are held to be deported, and she would try to sneak them out of there, to rescue them and to give them fake baptismal certificates, so that when the Nazis come, she says, "Oh no, this is just a regular, homeless Christian person that I'm taking care of," to save them from being killed. As it was later found out that she was helping the Jews get away, she was taken to a concentration camp, the Ravensbrück concentration camp, where she was eventually gassed and killed. So there is no Orthodox Church authority that praises the Nazis. Not even, and this is a big not even, but not even the church in Russia, not even the Moscow Patriarchate, not even the church in Russia is in any way sympathetic toward Hitler. They openly talk about the evils of National Socialism. Where does this idiot go to church? I bet he does not. This is the kind of filth that we see on social media, man, in the name of Christianity. Anyway.
Your boy Alexander Schmorell was executed when he was 25.
Powerful, powerful, powerful.
Interesting fellow, man. Interesting fellow. He was actually in the army for a little while.
Yeah.
He refused. You had to swear an oath to Hitler, and he wouldn't do it, but they let him in anyway.
Powerful.
Yep. And then he joined the resistance group.
Yeah. I don't care what you think about what kind of a Christian I am and whether I have the right to say this or not. I've said this before as well. But if you claim to be a Christian but you actually say dumb stuff like this, you can love all people while at the same time agreeing with Hitler that those of European descent should not have to live among them or have them influence our civilizations. I'm sick of hearing of Zionists, it's Jews. If you actually agree with Hitler or praise Hitler or something like that, you shouldn't call yourself a Christian, because you're not a Christian. It's like saying I'm a Christian and I believe in Satan. I'm a Christian, but I agree that Satan is a very, very good guy and has some very good ideas. You're not a Christian. I'm sorry, you're just not. Your hero that you're praising here was as anti-Christian as it gets. He hated Christianity because he considered it a Jewish religion. He used Christianity and wanted to turn it into something else. He had an organization under his government that was actively working day and night to create a new Bible. You can actually find it. I downloaded it recently to read through it. To find a new Bible that is a revision of the Gospels and the New Testament that removes any Jewishness about it and turns Jesus into a completely different figure who is actually a hero who is fighting against the Jewish authorities and all that, and who is an Aryan guy and all that. The Nazis were as anti-Christian and anti-Jewish as it gets. If you call yourself a Christian and actually support stuff like that, you shouldn't call yourself a Christian. You pick one. You can't have both. Steve Sinead, the most disturbing thing about all this is how many non-Arabs suddenly became pro-Hamas jihadists, like they're all being controlled by some demon. They are. Neil Pound says, the real Islamic dilemma is whether they want to persecute Christians or Jews on a particular day. Powerful. That's true. Tez Bot, just reading comments on Facebook. So many believe propaganda, far left dangerous. Facebook? You actually read stuff on Facebook? That's interesting. That's more impressive than anything. So sad about this young couple. Yeah. I'm Latino Catholic and I stand with Israel. Good. Power to you. Unlike Ye, says Misha, Ezra was unwillingly thrust into the limelight by the victim of Al-Zud. This is surely a scientific miracle. Ezra, being son of God, is what keeps fresh and salt water from mixing. Hail Ezra. Powerful. MT was just over at Tim Pool and Scott Horton took over the show because Tim isn't there and was the whole time blaming Israel. Hamas plus Muslims have zero agency. That's very stupid. What do you expect? Smokeless Choice with Alidawa's high voice. Is he transitioning? Yes, he is. As much as this tragedy angers us.
You need to say with his high voice, with his high pitched voice, and loving to get graped in the mouth.
Yes. Yes, that's good. As much as tragedy angers us, they both are now at the foot of his throne, praying for Rodriguez and the other mentally and spiritually challenged. MT retards online. IDF said 40 babies. OMG, Israel bad because 40 babies weren't beheaded. 40 were just killed. Also retards online. So what if Hamas lied about 14,000 babies? It's genocide. Oh boy, wait a minute. Now that you say genocide like that, I quickly want to have a look at something here. Did you see, David, did you see that clip going around from a certain online entertainer that I heard of for quite a while, but don't know much about? Who calls himself Theo Vaughn.
No. I mean, I think I've heard of that name, but what?
It only sounds slightly smarter than this. Wait.
Trump says he's going to protect women whether they like it or not. Well, if his definition of protection is not the freedom of choice.
Funny thing is, sorry for deviating from the topic, but the funny thing is, after this, I saw this here. Trump says, and then I watched it again.
Trump says.
Why are you making fun of someone's accent, man? You have an accent. You've mispronounced like 18 words during this live stream. You're sitting here. You're sitting here making fun of this multimillionaire.
Trump says. Anyway, that was not the point. I was going to. I was going to talk about this here. This guy is Theo Vaughn.
Oh, that guy. I've seen that. I've seen that guy.
So he's dumb.
I haven't watched him, but I've seen him pop up like right there. In fact, probably whatever this clip is.
So I saw this.
That's Theo Vaughn?
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to say something. There's been something that's just been kind of on my heart, and so I feel like I should bring it up. There is, you know, we've had people on the podcast in the past to talk about it. And there's a conflict that's been happening in the Middle East. People know about it.
Really?
Between Israel and Palestine and some of the areas over there, the Gaza area they talk about.
Is this breaking news? Hey, you know, some people have heard about it, but there's this conflict going on over in the Middle East now. You guys don't know where that is, but it's this place over across the ocean. And there's a place called Israel, and there's a place called Palestine, and they ain't been getting along too well.
And some of the regions there, like the Gaza, what they're talking about, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to this again. Listen to this description here of events.
At least people know about it. Between Israel and Palestine and some of the areas over there, the Gaza area they talk about. And
there's something called Gaza. So you got Israel, you got Palestine, and you got someplace people are talking about. It's called Gaza.
Here's the thing. As a rule, if you are just an entertainer or a comedian or an interviewer, you know, you shouldn't sit there and talk about and, you know, give your opinions on things, especially if you're dumb as a rock. You know, you shouldn't be talking about these things and presuming to be an authority, presuming to have something meaningful to say about this. And at least do the slightest bit of effort and inform yourself about it before you speak about it.
He did. He looked up a couple of the names. He discovered that there's a place called the Middle East, and a place called Israel, and a place called Palestine, and a place called Gaza. And how much more do you expect him to know with a haircut that looks like one of my cousins from Preston County, West Virginia?
Like I'm still not sure if this is a comedy bit, but apparently it's very serious. But this is not even. This is nothing. Look at this.
And I just think it feels to me. It feels to me like it's a genocide that's happening while we're alive.
I just learned the names of these places, but to me, it feels like a genocide. Why? Because you did any research? No, because a bunch of people are saying that, and it makes me feel like it's a genocide. But as a rule, a bunch of people are yelling at something, then I think, oh, I should feel that way too, and I start feeling that way. Dude, look at him. That's your screenshot there if you ever want to do a show about him.
think it feels to me, I don't know if it feels to me like it's a genocide that's happening
How does a genocide feel, Theo?
Look, here's the thing. You don't assess whether there is a genocide or not by how you feel about it. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, you look up the meaning of the word genocide and you see if this fits the definition, which it doesn't. Just a spoiler alert. Spoiler alert for when you look it up in the dictionary. Spoiler alert, it's not going to line up.
You can't just feel.
Well, all that matters is my feelings. And so if I feel like it's a genocide, then by golly, it's a genocide. It's like when I feel, when I'm at the Monster Truck and Tractor Rally, when I feel like Truckosaurus is going to beat Fordzilla, bam, it happens, baby. It happens.
The funny thing is, this guy could be trolling, but he's not. Like, this is a very, very serious post. And he posted this with, what are we doing? Broken heart. And then Abby says, dude, it is within your power to not be this dumb. But he actually feels like there's a genocide. And then, of course, this comes after he is invited to speak in Qatar and to entertain people in Qatar, and then to put on Qatar costumes and all that. So it's very, very interesting. But he thinks there's a genocide going on because he feels like it's a genocide. Nobody cares what you feel.
And I just think it feels to me, I don't know if it feels to me like it's a genocide that's happening while we're alive here in front of our lives.
What does it even mean?
Go back, man. Go back.
What the hell does it even mean?
Just think it feels to me, I don't know if it feels to me like it's a genocide that's happening while we're alive here in front of our lives.
While we're alive here in front of our lives?
What the hell does it even mean?
I don't.
You really need to smoke less of that, man.
And I don't. Sometimes I feel like I should say something. I'm not a geologist or geographer or anything like that. You know?
That's why you posted something about geologists the other day. Was that yesterday? I saw you babbling about not being a geologist or something like that. Now it makes sense.
The funny thing is, I didn't even listen this far when I first made a response tweet about this, and then I saw people saying, "What geologist?" And I thought, "What geologist?" So I went back and listened to it, and then he actually says, "Yeah, I'm not a geologist." And then he adds another one and says, "Geographer."
Sometimes I feel like I should say something. I'm not a geologist or geographer or anything like that. You know, so I don't know a lot of some of it I do know though. Like I know
I know about some rocks.
Listen, a geologist would be somebody who, I guess, analyzes, I don't know, rock formations and the earth and all that. And it's like, yeah, I'm a geologist. I'm looking at all the findings of the environment, the earth in that region. It looks to me like this is a genocide, dude. A geologist has nothing to do with.
What are you even talking about, AP? A geologist is someone who studies minerals, rocks, tries to understand mountains, earthquakes, them kinds of things. You don't think there are rocks
in front
in
of our
Gaza?
lives.
In Gaza, in front of our lives?
While we're living here in front of our lives.
While we're living here in front of our lives, are there or are there not rocks in Gaza?
You're right. You got me there, man.
In your face, touche.
You got me right there. I'm not a geographer, so I didn't really know what to say about that, but I guess if you wanna put it like that, I don't know, man. Oh yeah, this is why I tweeted I'm not a geologist, and very few people got it. And then I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you get better. TikTok, time to study rocks. Somebody made an AI photo of me collecting rocks.
What do you mean AI? I took that picture when we were in Israel.
Oh, that's right. This looks remarkably close. I am no geologist, but I'll have a look. I'm not a geographer. Genocide.
What's a picture?
Man.
The basics of the issues over there. But for me, it's just like how I feel like you see all these photos of people, just children, women, people, body parts, just people like putting their kids back together. And I just can't believe that we're watching that and that more isn't said about it.
Are you freaking serious, man?
Putting their kids back together?
So we're watching that and we're not seeing more being said about this. First off, everybody's talking about this day and night. It's like the most talked topic for the last 2 years or so. What do you mean? Everybody's talking about this. Everybody's talking about this, and the vast majority of what is being said is complete misinformation.
But how many geologists are using their expertise to talk about this?
There's a very, very sad situation going on there. Lots of people are dying. Lots of innocent people are dying. Guess what? When there is a war, innocent people die. Lots of innocent people die. That's what happens. It shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be happening. It should never again be happening. The solution to that would be to stop the one side that insists for 80 years now or more, 120 years, 140 years, or 1,400 years, no matter how you want to look at it, that insists on fighting over and over again and again. Convince them to stop fighting and to start working toward peace. Anyway, I've had so enough of this nonsense. Haj Rayyan al-Ghazali said, Dirka Dirka Muhammad Jihad. This is a very, very good point. Anonymous, so be it, is a great Messianic Jew YouTube channel. I know, I see their stuff sometimes. They have very nice discussions with Jews in the streets of Jerusalem. Very, very good stuff. Fox McCloud, Mayor praised the Catholic Church for saving Jew. Which mayor? You mean Golda Meir? Police look up Theo Vaughn preaching as a kid. No, I don't want to. I don't want to see anything else from him.
It looks like it looks like one of those deep fakes where because it's over a classic clip of some extremely angry young person who is preaching.
All right. Anything else, David?
Oh, he's a stand-up comedian, podcaster, and actor. So yeah, geologist is not on that list. Okay. Just wanted to verify. Stand-up comedian, podcaster, and actor, not a geologist.
Yeah. Anything else, David?
His father was 67 when he was born? My goodness.
Really?
Huh.
That's interesting. Well, that explains it.
But I'm looking up no geology background at all. Huh.
Well, let me tell you personally, as a geologist, I think if there's no genocide going on there, none of the pictures there look like genocide to me, and I would know what I'm talking about because I'm a geologist myself.
And I'm just saying, if you think there's not a genocide and you are not a geologist, you are not qualified to speak on this matter.
Yeah, and you're not black. Kiara Reed says, question for AP and Mr. Wood. I am atheist, but I feel like I love Jesus. Since I think about Jesus, my life has been much better and I'm happier, but I'm scared because so much people argue it's fake. How do I find the truth? First, I will let David speak.
Yeah, that's actually very common. It was more recent where you had atheists who were like angry about Jesus. Back in the day, it was okay. Yeah, Jesus is a really good guy. Don't believe in the miracles. Don't believe in any of that stuff. Don't believe in that. But really good guy. Glad he had such a important impact on humanity. Then you had, the angry atheist. And fortunately, the angry atheists have been losing ground recently. Allows people to have a bit more common sense. The common sense reaction as an atheist would be, okay, so I don't believe in, God and so on, but I have to acknowledge Jesus is a really good guy and had a lot of teachings that really helped the world. And therefore, you would have a more favorable view. But you might want to think more about why you like Jesus. And just think, if he wasn't who he claimed to be, he'd kind of be mental. He'd kind of be mental or evil. And so this is the famous trilemma, which doesn't work perfectly well because there are other alternatives. But when you actually go to the alternatives, they don't work. So anyway, the idea here is we have an idea of the impact Jesus made on the people around him and the kinds of things he was saying. Okay. And we know about Jesus' impact on the world. So this got put as a trilemma. If Jesus is making these kinds of claims about himself and you think, oh, I don't believe he's Lord, I think he's just a good guy. Okay, well, if he's not Lord and he was saying the kinds of things that he was saying about himself, he would not be a good guy. He would be some sort of lunatic. In other words, if he thinks he is all these things and he's this divine son of God and he's not, then he's kind of a lunatic. Or he would be someone who's making things up about himself. In other words, he's deliberately deceiving people about his own identity. So none of those would be a good person. And none of those kinds of guys, whether he's a lunatic or a liar, should have had the kind of positive moral impact he's had on humanity. So once that was presented as a kind of trilemma, people responded, oh, well, it doesn't have to be one of those. It could have just been legendary development that appeared many, many years later. Problem with that is we know this stuff is very early. We know this goes back really, really early. We've talked about it before. The Apostle Paul converted about 2 years after Jesus' death. Paul was persecuting the church specifically because people were treating Jesus like God. That means this goes back to the earliest church. The earliest church was treating Jesus like God. They're treating Jesus like God. They were worshiping him. They were praying to him and so on. Paul saw this. Paul goes on a rampage. But what could have convinced a group of first century Jews that they should be worshiping this guy? You'd have to kind of be making the claims we read about in the Gospels, which means Jesus, as far as we can tell historically, was making these kinds of claims about himself, some very, very strange claims. So I'd think about that. If you like Jesus, you're going to have a problem viewing him as a lunatic or as a liar. And so you might want to take him seriously. And if you do, well, you got to start looking at his claims about being Lord. As far as a bunch of people telling, no, you're wrong, that would be stupid, that would be dumb. How much do these people know? Anyway, so talk to some knowledgeable people and see what you come up with.
That's a very, very nice response. I would say, I don't know if you're aware, but I was very recently in a similar situation because for most of my...
hang on. Are you a geologist?
Yes.
Okay, then you can talk. Go ahead.
I do speak with the authority of being a geologist. So,
okay.
So for much of the last years, I did feel the same way, or in a similar way. I had a lot of respect for Jesus and had a lot of respect for Christianity and all that. but I couldn't find myself believing in something because I had a very skeptic, very hardcore atheistic stance. But I repeatedly and again found myself being very sympathetic and very wishing and willing to be Christian and to be, a believer in something. And it was quite recently that I actually changed my views. But I guess the change in my views came with or after the change in how I actually felt about all of this. There is one recommendation that people made for the longest time now, and I actually had great arrogance when people gave me this advice, which was to read or listen to the book Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. And with the little bit that I heard of it or read of it, I didn't want to, and I had some arrogance toward it. As I started reading and listening to it at the same time, I was actually very impressed with it. Very impressed with his responses and his explanations to certain things, matters of belief. But I think it wasn't so much the whole, logical aspect or the arguments for God and the arguments for Christianity than the belonging to Christianity that eventually gave me a push toward Christianity. You say it makes you feel better. You say your life has been much better. You are much happier. There's something that my wife actually said a while ago, which I very much appreciated, which was that when we grew up as children belonging to a certain religious belief, we weren't first taught about the basics or the truth of that religion and about why it is true and why it is not true and so on. We were simply raised with it, and we were doing we were doing things because we were taught that they were true. It is much more difficult to get into a certain religion approaching it rationally rather than just approaching it as a child. If you feel so good about it, if you feel very happy about it, there's nothing wrong with or nothing holding you back from becoming a child again and approaching it like that. Say a prayer. Go to a church. Go to a church service. Say the prayer again and again, not just once, twice, I don't know, every day. Internalize a little bit of that love that you have and the happiness that you feel about it. Go into it like a child without waiting to be fully convinced that it is true. Just approach it with your feelings. There's nothing wrong with it. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. I wouldn't care a single bit about what people want to say nowadays of it's not logical, it's not reasonable. You have to find reason and logic and science and evidence and proof and all that. No, you don't. You absolutely don't. Go with your feelings. You have feelings for a reason. They tell you something very useful and something very, very good. Go with them. If you feel so happy and so good about it, if you feel goodness in it, go to it. Approach it. Try to appreciate it. You don't have to dedicate your life to it right now. You can try it and see where it leads you. I mean, in theory, right? If you don't like it, you can still say, "Oh, actually, you know what? I don't really like this. I want to back out of here." You can still try it. Nobody's forcing you to go in or to stay in there. I would say if you feel so happy and so good about it, go and do it and attach yourself to it a little bit. I did that, and I'm very, very happy. I'm so much happier than I have been for the last 10 years or so. Hope that helps. Sarah F. said, I know your GOAT slogan is iconic, but I hope it may one day say, stay close to Christ instead. That's funny. Maybe it should. Timothy Freeman, Requiem aeternima dona eis, Domine et lex perpetua luceat eis. Requiescat in pace beata Maria Virgo per dolens, ora pro nobis Ave Maria. Indeed. All I know about this is ora pro nobis Ave Maria says, pray for us. Hail Mary. Dona is Mother of God. Light, perpetual light in peace. That's all I can figure out here. Good. Moo Joe says, last week the comedian Theo Von was caught on camera grabbing a man by the throat and pushing him away. The guy told him something. I wonder how he will react if 5 men or his mother are kidnapped or his son. Yes. Hello, family. Great to see you all. Geopolitics are hard, but it requires
issues like that are actually important to bring up, man.
They are.
Issues like that are actually important to bring up with someone like that. If he was just, I feel like it's a genocide and stuff. First thing I'd want to do is, what do you mean by genocide and things like that? But you would eventually want to get to, okay, if people came in, took your family hostage and took them over there, and they were still holding them and doing who knows what to them. What would you think about actually like going after the guys who did it and stuff, and knowing that they're hiding behind civilians? What do you think? What do you think would be appropriate? I bet, because Guy obviously has no clue what's going on. I bet if you asked him what's appropriate, it would involve going after the people to get the people back, and it would involve going and hunting down the terrorists and things like that, which is what Israel's doing.
Are retarded.
There you go. AP re-atheist, literally PS 34.8. David, what does PS 34.8 say? You know the whole thing by memory. You don't? What a loser. Psalms 34 Psalms 34.8 said, "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who trusts in him." Powerful. All right, thanks everybody for watching. Kay Leafy says, I feel like I'm a geologist. That's a good combination. That's a big combo there. I feel like I'm a geologist. I just feel like I'm a geologist. All right, David, anything else?
No, that's it. We've said it all. What?
Are we doing something tomorrow?
Possibly. We'll see.
All right, man. That sound good. I'm currently working on releasing my first song on Apostate Music. It's currently in the works. It's going to be out in the next few days or so.
You released a song a long time ago.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did, because they banned it and then they restored it.
Well, the thing is, I didn't release it. I only upload. That's the funny thing. All I did was upload it on my channel. I didn't even release it. I didn't even make it public. It was unlisted, and I was working on it. And then I get a message from YouTube saying this video breaks the guidelines, and they have to ban the channel now. Like, I didn't even publish anything.
Sounds like YouTube.
So yeah, that's coming. All right, man. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for being here, and bless and remember the memory of Sarah Milgram and Yaron. What's his name? I forgot his name. Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Milgram, and say a prayer for them. All right, leaving now. Thanks everybody for watching. As always, have a fantastic day. And as the goats like to often point out, okay, now it works. Which is also translated into English in the following words:
stay away from Islam.
Thank you.